Okay, we're recording now. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's 6:01, so we can go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I'll just do my usual little preamble. Good evening and welcome to the 7th meeting of the Renewable Energy Vibrancy Fund Advisory Committee. This meeting is open to the public viewing and will be recorded and posted to the township website. Please remember to keep your mics muted when not speaking, and if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and the chair will acknowledge you. If you're a committee member with no video, please use the chat function or raise hand feature to indicate if you wish to speak and during voting. It's also work that is just spoken out as well. If a member is having connection issues, please email Brandy so that she's aware. And also, if anyone needs to leave the meeting, please let us know so we can ensure that we maintain a quorum. And with that, we'll move ahead. So the first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Is everything, the agenda, nothing has changed on it then?
Nope, everything's correct on there.
Everything's good? Okay. So if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Joan. Could I have a seconder?
I can second.
Seconded by James. Thank you. And all in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Motion passed. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Is there anyone to declare pecuniary interest? And seeing none, we'll move to the minutes of the previous meeting. So that was on February 25th. Did anyone notice any errors or omissions or any comments that you wanted to make? Seeing none. We'll look for a mover then to approve the minutes. Moved by Diane, seconded by?
I'll move approval, Jim.
Approval, thank you. And seconder? Joan? Okay. Any comments or further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, the motion, please raise your hand.
Yep.
Okay, opposed, and there's none. Thank you. That motion has passed. I'm used to the other meetings. I keep wanting to click my mute button when I'm done, but I can't this time. Now, unfinished business, we didn't have any. Reporting back from council, we don't have anything on the agenda. So we go right into reports. 6.1, the review. The draft grant fund policy and application. Yes, Brandy?
So I did receive correspondence from a couple of the committee members. So just some discussion points. Do you want me to share my screen to bring those up?
Sure, that would be good. Okay.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes. Actually, can you enlarge it just a little bit, Brandy? It's not an age thing. I'm just, there we go. That's better for me. The distance of the screen, I have to have my glasses off. Well then, Okay, good. Okay, so these are just do we want to go through these first then? And then if there's anything else in the, so this is just the policy on this one?
Yeah, there's kind of two discussion points that wanted committee members wanted brought up.
Okay.
And then there was just, so this first one here, there's just a small change in the wording. So I think it's including the word from both agreement seizes.
Okay.
So this one's the revised one here. So it's not changing the intent
Okay.
within
Yeah.
the policy, so it's just a minor change. And then these two are the bigger discussion points that I heard back from. And then there was a comment about adding to the application under section 2 to include a line for materials and purchased equipment or materials purchased equipment. So if you guys want to talk about the limits here first, and then we can chat about the application and whether that should be added in.
Okay. So the 3.9 would be the first. The other one, like you said, it just adding a word, didn't change any of the intent, just kind of helped clarify a little bit. So that,
Yeah.
So 3.9. So it's just changing it from 25% to 50%. And is there anyone on the committee that has a comment on that or wants to speak to it? Or have any preference?
Well, Brandy's first.
I don't mind going first. Oh, sorry. We'll let James go first.
I think Brandy had her hand up first.
Brandy, did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say for clarification, I think the intent, and committee member can correct me if I am wrong, but the intent is to increase it from 50 up to 75% funding.
Oh, okay. I was reading.
So yeah, increasing, not decreasing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Brandy. James, do you want to go ahead?
And I guess I had more of a question. Well, I guess a clarification. This is just for the maximum 5,000 one. So like we've got the other one separate, the up to $75,000 one. So like this isn't, I guess, that big of a change if we just go up to splitting it 50-50 or whatever between going from 50% to 75% funding for the small streams. So I guess, again, not that big of a thing, not that big of a change.
Okay. Thank you. And Diane?
Yes, I did put that in, and I admit that I did notice that I actually kind of had it backwards, because what I was proposing maybe would have increased the share that the proponent would have to contribute, but my intent was to decrease that portion. What I guess what I've been thinking after James said in his comments about the possibility of removing the percentage maximum or minimum, the percentage at all, and because the maximum grant amount would still remain the same. So if you had a $10,000 project and you got 5,000, that would be 50% of the project costs. But if you had a $1,000 project, obviously you would only be eligible to get $1,000. So I think I wonder if we might even just eliminate, following James' suggestion, and just take out that sharing part. However, if we did that, we might want to indicate that groups that indicate that they will contribute, how they will contribute their own funds will be given special, I don't know, maybe preference would be given or something like that. Or maybe we don't even need to mention that at all. Maybe it's just a given.
Okay, thank you.
Could add something. When I mentioned taking off the percentage, that was for the first 5 years worth of funding, like that clause for, I guess, around the Kingston Solar area and Amherst Island. Because I was thinking that if you've got a big project that you want to pull off, and the first 5 years are allocated to that area anyway, potentially, I really like the skin in the game aspect. That way it incentivizes the group to raise some funds themselves, so they're not totally relying on us. But for the first 5 years, if you're trying to pull off a big project, I don't know, I just thought it might hinder things. If again, I don't know exactly what projects are coming or anything like that. It's hard to guess the future, but if you've only got that first 5 years worth of money anyway, and it's only for that area, it really narrows the scope. So I feel like people probably wouldn't take advantage of that. But if we take the community group having to fund a little bit themselves away entirely, then I don't know, I just feel like everybody, it might almost create too much demand. I don't know, that's just my 2 cents anyway.
Okay, thank you. Joan?
Okay, I kind of agree with the 75% or the 25% for the applicant, if I'm reading this correctly. But in saying that for the community grant, then I think that we should also look at the the renewable benefits as well. If we're going to minimize the contribution for the community grant, we should maybe look at the other one as well.
Okay. And maybe I'll just, I'll give my 2 cents right now, if that's okay. I like the idea of at least maintaining that I like the idea, if we want to change the percentages, I like the idea of maintaining the percentages, that there is a commitment from the organizers to not fund something 100% off of this, at least even if it's only for the first 5 years. Now, granted, when we say the first 5 years, that 5 years worth of funding can be used at any point. So we're just making sure that that volume of funds will be used in that area. So I like the idea of maintaining a percentage. And if you think about it, if they ask for $5,000, all they have to come up with is $2,500 to be able to get the 5,000. So most community groups that would be looking at doing something would be able to either have raised or could raise during the function the 25%. So that's my thoughts on it. But it's committee decision. So I just wanted to put that out there. Anyone else have comments?
I guess I,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, just so, yeah. I'm just trying to get this all straight. Like yeah, so the 75. Sorry, come back to me. Maybe Diane, you go first. I'm still
Okay.
processing.
Okay, that's fine. Did you have something, Diane? Sorry,
Okay.
I lost part of my
am I-
screen, so if you have something, please go ahead.
Well, I guess I would agree, and we talked about this previously. I do think it is important that the groups have skin in the game, using the expression that we've been using. I think it shows, there's a lot of reasons why it's valuable. But I do think that the way we have it set up now is too onerous on the groups. So I would be happy to, if we change that, maybe even to a 75-25 ratio, or an 80-20 ratio. It doesn't really matter. But as Joan said, I think it should apply to the Renewable Energy Benefit Fund as well. Whatever we do for the community grant, we should apply the same to the community energy, the Renewable Energy Benefit Fund grant as well. And I guess, there's still a maximum in both cases. So in most projects, because there's a maximum, that's already determined. They're not going to get more than $5,000 or more than $75,000, regardless of what their project is my understanding.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say on that. I hope I've been clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing is whatever we decide here, if council approves that, as we've said right from the start, this is going to be a living document for a while. If we see that the percentages are off a little bit, then, I mean, there's going to be reviews fairly regularly, at least at the beginning, I anticipate, just to make sure that we've got it right. So, but I agree with you, Diane. I mean, if we want to, change the percentage to do, you'd mentioned the 75-25 or the 80, excuse me, 80-20, then the committee can make a decision on how they want to split it. So anyone else have comment on this one, how they'd like to see it go, or is someone ready to make a motion, or how do we want to?
One last from me, I guess. So the community grant is max of 5,000 and a max contribution of 50% of their costs. So essentially, they have to raise half to get half. I'm still kind of spitballing here, but so if we're looking to make it more accessible, again, $5,000 is not a huge amount. So like, I'm okay with maybe turning this one a little easier to get. So they only have to fund 25% of their project or event or whatever up front, just to make sure that because it is only 5,000, but it's just to make sure they're not, like, again, council has oversight of this, so hopefully they're not just throwing money everywhere, but I guess to get the maximum benefit of it for the community or for whatever is going, to make sure whatever event is pulled off correctly and responsibly. I'd still like to see the 25% in there. And then talking about the renewable energy benefit. So we've got a 25% funding cost for up to 75,000, and that could be potentially multi-year projects and all that kind of stuff. If we want to adjust the things, like even if we want to adjust it and make a really easy to get grant, maybe we say there's $1,000 up for grabs potentially, and you need like nothing down, like just on council's discretion if they want to do like a straight up grant, but just lower the limit. And kind of the same deal with this. So if you want to get the full 75,000, maybe you got to, like, we're only funding 25% of the project, but if you only need, I don't know, 10,000 or 15,000, maybe we can play with that percentage a little bit to make it easier to get, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, that's an option. Personally, I'd kind of like to take care of the 3.9 first and then go to the other, just so we aren't in the waters with all the numbers out there. And then if we want to change the $75,000 one, we can look at doing that. Joan, did I see your hand go up, Joan?
Yeah, I agree with the 25% for 3.9. That's
Okay. Okay, it sounds like we've kind of got a consensus. Brandy, go ahead.
So just so I'm clear, so it would be a maximum of 5,000 per organization per year has been established for financial contributions or 75% of expenditures.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What I would recommend that if we are only sticking to these discussion points tonight and the committee wishes to forward the policy and application to an upcoming committee of the whole, maybe make a resolution with the change for each item so it's clear and just so we don't have to come back again to review it.
Okay. Yeah, we do that.
Okay.
So if anyone has any other questions or comments on this one, we can entertain them. And if not, we can entertain a motion.
Everybody's good. Do you want me to make the motion?
By all means.
Okay, so the motion would be to change 3.9, the contribution limit from 50% to, or sorry, the funding limit from 50% to 75%.
75% of expenditures. Okay.
Yeah, of expenditures, yeah.
Thank you. Diane?
I'd be happy to second that.
Very well. Moved by James, seconded by Diane. Any further discussion or questions? And seeing none, I'll call the question. Everyone in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Nope. And motion carried. Thank you. So the next discussion point's taken care of. So I guess if we want to look at 316 before we move down to the application, with the percentages there, did the committee want to look at those percentages of the $75,000 funding? There we are. Brandon.
Up to you guys. I'm personally kind of good with the 75, like 25% funding numbers, but
Okay. Because there was some discussion, I just wanted to make sure, because what I was thinking is if we're good with, I'd like to make sure we're good with the policy before we go to the application, and that way we're just keeping everything organized as we go. So right now it reads a maximum of $75,000 per organization per year has been established for financial contributions or 25% of the cost of the project, whichever is less. Exceptions to this guideline may be considered at council's discretion. Yes, Joan?
I would just like to see that the same percentage as the community grant, that's all.
Okay, Diane? Go ahead, Diane.
I agree with Joan. I agree with Joan.
Okay.
Sorry, do I? Yeah, I
Okay.
agree with Joan.
So you're looking at so the other one, 3.9, we changed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy or committee members. It read established for financial contributions or 25%. Is that the way it reads, Brandy?
75.
Or up to 75 of expenditures, whichever is less.
Yes. Okay. I get the, I had the percentages reversed again. Okay.
So it would be the same here. So a maximum of 75,000 per organization per year has been established for financial contributions, or 75% of the cost of the project. So it would be funding up to 75% of the cost.
So $100,000 project would be potentially eligible for 75,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I've got it clear again now. Now you see why I need to go in order like I do. Okay. So that's an option out there. So Joan brought it up, mentioned it. Diane spoke to it. James, did you want to speak to it, or do you want me to? Don't want to put you on the spot. Just
No. Well, like, my only concern is that, I don't know, to me that makes it lucrative, I guess. Like it's, you definitely go for it and it's definitely worth it. And I like, on the applicant side, it makes it very desirable, I guess. But it's that skin in the game. Like we're taking away essentially 75% of the risk, right, from them. So even if we move it to 50-50, that's still a considerable amount of risk for the potential applicant and 50% of the risk for us as the township. So I just think the township taking on 75% of the risk, it's gonna, I don't know, it's riskier, I guess would be how I put it. Like I just think it's high, but like I don't know, my 2 cents, I guess.
okay. So you'd be leaning more towards a 50-50 instead of a 75-25.
If we had to go up, yeah, because again, it's just 75% of the risk on the township. Now, again, depending on the projects and stuff, like the first 5 years, if we adjusted that clause to make it so that there was perhaps no limit or a very low limit for the funding there, or well, like the amount raised to get the funding, like I'd be more open to that. But just this is going to be for everybody, right? Like I don't know, the township taking on 75% of the risk in a project. Like me as an applicant, I would love that because like there's not that much risk on my side of things, right? Yeah. And you're all about mitigating risk, but on the township side, which is what we're kind of worried about as the committee, we want to make sure the township's getting bang for its buck and like responsible use of funds. So that's where I like if we're going up, I wouldn't want to see it more than 50, really.
Okay. Okay. And I guess in that case, if there was something that was really felt to be a huge benefit to the township, the next sentence would come into play where there's exceptions to this guideline may be considered at council's discretion.
Yeah, and that's kind of the kicker that makes anything possible, right?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, Diane, go ahead.
I'm sympathetic with James's point. However, I think this grant does give an opportunity for things to happen that haven't been able to happen. And often the reason that hasn't happened is because they haven't been able to generate enough funds on their own to have it happen, obviously. I understand that the 75-25 is a very generous grant, but I think the application process and the assessment of the evaluation of the applications will weed out projects that where you don't actually see that there is enough community benefit. And I think that community benefit is often shown by the level of funding that each organization brings forward on its own. So I don't know, I maybe 50-50 would be okay, but I certainly wouldn't want to go any less than that.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Sorry. Yes, Joan. I'm reading it, trying to think straight in my own mind too.
I think maybe 50-50 would be acceptable, as opposed to the 75.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we've come somewhat to a consensus on that.
We ready for another motion?
We're ready for a motion, James.
Okay. So in 3.16, we're going to change the contribution for organization to, so a maximum of $75,000 per organization per year has been established for financial contributions, or 50% instead of 25% of the total cost of the project, whichever is less. So we're going to change the 50 to 25%.
Okay. Thank
Or
you.
25 to 50%. Geez, I got that backwards.
And okay, so moved, seconded by Joan. And Brandy, you're just to make sure you're good on the wording then?
Yes, so it would be a maximum of 75,000 per organization per year has been established for financial contributions, or 50% of the cost of the project, whichever is less.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand.
I'm sorry, I just
Yeah.
have one
Yeah.
one comment.
Yes, Diane.
My only comment was the 50-50 makes it less confusing.
Yes, it does. Okay. Okay,
I'm
so,
in favor of that.
okay, so I'll just call the question. All in favor?
Yep.
And motion is passed. Thank you. Okay, so that,
Cute.
was there anything more in this, oh, other than going to the application then?
So I believe it's just the application point here for section 22.
Okay, so before I go to the application with this item here, is there anything else in the policy that anyone wanted to discuss or take a look at for potential revisions? I just want to make sure that everyone's happy that we're good to go. Hearing none. Okay, okay. We can go to the application then. And number 20, oh yes, I remember this one now. So the comment was to add in materials and purchased equipment or materials slash okay, so we want to include materials and the cost of equipment in there as an expense. So we're just trying to get a more complete picture of all the expenses that would have been incurred. Yes, Diane? Go ahead.
Well, when I looked at this, thank you, Jim. When I looked at this list, I realized that if you were filling it out, those two items, especially the materials, was really missing. You would have a hard time figuring out how you're going to put that in. So, you know, I would think that it would be more important than administration, for example, or facility expenses. I think it's a much more likely expense to have than either of those other two. So we could just add those two that I mentioned, and maybe take others out, or just add those, and then it encapsulates every possibility almost.
I'm thinking adding it would probably, the others are good information. So rather than start seeing what to remove and things, we could always just add it. And it just has one more line to be filled out. And if they don't have, say they don't have administration costs or whatever, then they just don't fill that one out. Material is, material is a big ticket item now. Okay.
I like just adding it too.
Just adding it? Okay, thanks, James. Diane?
I agree.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on that? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion then to add a column for, or a line for materials and equipment purchased or rented. Something along that line? So remove,
That's 2 lines, isn't it? One for equipment and one for material.
it can be.
Everybody think 2 lines would be good for that? I kind of like the 2 lines.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me
That's
to make
how
a
the
like
motion?
lines
That's how the
too.
motion reads. That's what we'll be voting on.
Okay. So I'll make the motion, I guess, if everybody's cool with that, to add 2 lines under section 22 of the application. One to read under expenses, materials, and the second line to be equipment rental.
And yes, Brandy?
So under lease property and or equipment, would the committee like the and or equipment to be removed and equipment to have its own line?
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, they're looking at material being on one line and leased or, what was the other, leased or rented equipment? Was that the other line?
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Or maybe even leased, rented, or purchased.
Leased, rented, or purchased, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandy? Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Joan? Thank you.
I'll say,
And any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Yep.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And I believe the rest of the comments that were provided were more, it was more the numbering system and things like that, right? Some grammatical, so that, and I think if I read the email right, that's planning on being done, right, Brandy? There'll be some cleanup on it before it goes to council, just in the numbering system and things like that.
Yeah, the numbering will be changed. Some of it is off right now, so that'll be updated. And then it'll have a final proofreading too before it goes.
Okay, okay. Just didn't want to leave anything out. So were there any other items on the application then that anyone want to discuss? Diane? Go ahead.
no, I think we're good to go. I think our work is done so far.
Okay. Very good. Joan, go ahead.
I agree with that.
Okay. So if that's the case, the recommendation on the report was that the report from Corporate Services, March 11th, 2021, redraft renewable energy grant fund policy and application review be received, and that the draft policy, we should add in probably as amended, be forwarded to a committee of the whole for discussion.
Yeah.
Is that? I think with what we've done tonight, that motion is suitable. So if everybody's good with the policy and the application and ready for it to go to council, then we can entertain a motion for that recommendation.
I think it's good.
Okay. Okay. Were you moving that then, James?
Oh, another motion? Sure.
Okay.
Motion man tonight.
Motion to receive and adopt the recommendation then?
Yep.
Were you seconding?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any other
And I'll
further?
second it.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
any other discussion or comments? And seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Yep.
And, okay, and motion is carried. Thank you. So that takes care of the reports on the agenda. We don't have any correspondence and announcements and inquiries. Are there any announcements or inquiries on this? Seeing none. Upcoming meeting dates. Yes, Diane. Go ahead, Diane.
I just have an inquiry. What committee of the whole meeting is this likely to be on? Is it
Well-
to, I mean, I don't know, and I guess that's a question for you, Jim. Do you think there's one that's optimal? Whether it's the first one in April, or does that make sense to you? if that's possible.
And I'm gonna look at Brandy for
Or is
input
it
on
too
this as
tight?
well, because she's gonna be preparing it to go to be included. And it has to, of course, be ready a fair bit in advance of the meeting, so. That would be nice, I think, Diane, if we can swing it, but why am I not?
I think we can swing for April, April for, no,
So it'd be,
April 5th, Committee of the Whole.
and, okay, and that's Easter,
So it would be the following
Good.
day, Tuesday.
yeah, so it'd
So the
probably be on the
6th.
6th then.
Yep.
So, yeah. It'd be nice if we could get it on that one and then it's dealt with. Because if council approves it, then it would still have to go to the council meeting for the minutes and everything to be adopted by council there as well. So that would be good. Now, what I was thinking is we still have 2 items to finish up. One was the memorandum of understanding is more of just a legal document. There was the evaluation for application as well. Is that correct, Brandy? Those are the only thing that I remembered that we had to do.
Yeah, like the reporting out form for the financials and the project
Yes.
evaluation. Yes.
So I personally, I think we could probably go ahead with setting a date and working towards those while this is at council. If committee members would rather wait until they know for sure what council says, then we can. I would just like to, even if we could work on a draft of the rest of the documents, then that way we're keeping the momentum and making sure that applications might be able to be used this year. So what's committee's thoughts on that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that too.
To go ahead and move on.
I am
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. So Brandy, again, I'll look at you because you're the one that's going to be, you're going to be the one that's doing the work in between then and now. And my phone just blacked out. There we go. Okay. Do you have an idea, Brandy, of how long it would take you? What kind of time frame we should be looking at for setting the next meeting?
I would like a couple weeks to work on, and the memorandum should be circulated for legal opinion. So I'm thinking maybe April 8th. So that would be just 2 days after the Committee of the Whole.
Okay, and that way we will know from the committee as well then. Okay, so April 8th. Okay, so if everyone's in agreement, we can tentatively set it for April 8th. And if it has to be changed, it can. And then once we're done those documents, this portion of the committee's work is pretty much underway. I think we're going to work ourselves out of a job.
Just like being in construction.
That's right. That's right. Finish one project and move to the next. So
6 o'clock again on the 8th.
pardon me?
6 o'clock again on the 8th.
Yes, that's what we'll set as our tentative date right now. And
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And just a comment from me, I think we hit a milestone tonight with this coming back to council and the application and the policy. I'm pretty impressed that with what we've developed and to get it to the point where it can go to council for their review and discussion. So I just like to thank the committee and the staff. I know Brandy's done a pile of work. Phil's been there, making sure that we had all the information. And the committee has really worked well together and accomplished a lot of work, I believe. So I just wanted to say thank you for making it to this milestone, and then we'll hit the next one and be good to go. So with that, we have our meeting up dates. So the only thing we got left, it looks like, is an adjournment. Would anyone like to move adjournment?
Sure.
James, seconded by Joan. Okay, and probably not much discussion on that one. So I'll call the question. Everyone in favor?
Yep.
Thank you. And motion is passed. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jim. Thank you,
Good
Jim.
job,
You've done a
everybody.
good job of chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That was great working with you all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great job.